Appeal cards and speaker cards are up in the front. If you want to talk, I'm going to allow 10 minutes for each side and 5 minutes rebuttal. The invocation will be performed by Mr. Randolph and the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Drum. Please stand.
Heavenly Father, once again, we come to you to say thank you for all the blessings you bestowed in our lives. Lord, we thank you for these commissioners, Heavenly Father, that's on this podium tonight. And Lord, we thank you for those that's in the audience, Lord. We thank you for all of our residents. We thank you for our government, Heavenly Father, and those employees that's worked so diligently day after day. Lord, we ask a special blessing upon all of our political, civic, and community leaders and our military personnel, veterans, law enforcement officers, firefighters, and medical personnel. Grant them all the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, as well as us tonight, so that we might be able to lead and make the right decisions. And all these blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have the commissioners had a chance to review the minutes for last month's meeting? And if so, I'll take a motion to Commissioner Randolph. Motion to approve by Commissioner Randolph. I have a second by Commissioner Lauren.
I'll second it, but I have a question.
Okay. Go ahead. There's a second. Go ahead, Commissioner Lauren. You have the floor.
I second it, but in my packet, and we know the packets are not completely accurate, but on page 1, there's a case 1315 that was postponed until tonight, and I don't see it on the agenda. Is it? Yes, sir. It wasn't on mine.
Yeah, we had a mishap with the agendas given to the commissioners last month. It's one of the last cases, sir. All right, I have a motion to approve and a second by Commissioner Lawrence, a motion approved by Commissioner Randolph, and a second by Commissioner Lauren. Please vote.
Did you just? Motion carries.
Thank you. Now we enter the public hearing portion. The chair would like to go ahead and move up. What's that?
Your postponement.
Oh, okay. We now, staff, are there any cases that request postponement tonight?
Yes, sir. It's going to be case number 2019-1351 MSP.
That's it?
Yep, the applicant's requesting postponement.
Okay. Let's move up that case. 2019-1351 MSP, a minor subdivision, a 20.859 acre parcel into lots A1, A2, A3, west of Lewisburg, Mandeville. Owner is Crosby Development LLC. Surveyor is J.B. Bergson Associate. The Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Michael Lorino. The general location is north side of Lake Pontchartrain and west of North Lake Drive, Mandeville, Ward 4, District 4. Is anybody here to represent this case and tell us why they want to postpone it?
The developer or the petitioner just emailed and requested to be postponed for 1 month.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience want to speak in favor of this postponement or against this postponement? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Lauren. Oh,
Make a motion to postpone for 1 month.
Commissioner Lauren makes a motion to postpone for 1 month. Commissioner Baggett. Second. Commissioner Baggett seconds that. Any more discussion? If not, let's postpone 2019-1351 MSP for 1 month. Please vote.
Motion carries.
And that's all the postponements requested for tonight. Okay. I'd like to move up a case since we have a young lady here from Baton Rouge. Under old business, resolution number 17-091, that's the last case tonight. It's enter the parish right-of-way, River Hills Court, Abita River Estates. Applicant is Diane Wiegand. Engineer is Arrow Engineering and Consulting. The parish council district representative is the Honorable David Fitzgerald. Is someone here to represent this case, or? Yes, ma'am. Come on up and give us your name and address.
Good evening, I'm Diane Wiegand, and my address is 19317 West Piney Point Avenue, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
And staff, what is this case about?
Yes, sir. Honorable Commissioners, the above captioned project was approved, allowing the petitioner to construct an aggregate access within the River Hill Court right-of-way to gain access to a private property. A caveat was included in the approval that the asphalt construction of the access would eventually be required prior to occupancy of any building permit received. The petitioner has been issued a work order to construct the aggregate access, but has yet to construct the access. However, the Department of Public Works recently led a contract that constructed an asphalt overlay of River Hill Court and, as a matter of standard procedure, constructed the entrance to the unopened portion of River Hill Court that the petitioner was required to construct. Therefore, it is now recommended that the petitioner be no longer required to accomplish the works, since there is now a satisfactory asphalt entrance to River Hill Court that can be used to access the petitioner's private property. Upon approval of this recommendation, the petitioner will be notified of action taken, the performance obligation released, and be advised that building permit can be applied for.
Thank you. So basically what you're saying is it's already been built,
Correct.
so we're voting on the approval for the free road?
Or to release her from the responsibility of having to fulfill the enter the right-of-way obligation.
Okay. Does the commission understand that? Okay. Anybody in the audience would like to speak for this case or against this case? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Doherty.
I don't know, this thing's not working, but it finally came on. About how many feet was this asphalt that you were going to have to put in? Do you know?
Probably, maybe 10 feet? Yeah,
Okay, all right. So it's less than 100 feet or less than 20 feet, or something like that? So
Yes.
we're not dealing with a very long piece of roadway, okay?
No,
Mr.
not
Chairman, I'll go ahead and put a motion to approve releasing her from the obligation.
Okay. I have a motion to approve the release of the obligation. Commissioner Baggert. Second. I have a second by Commissioner Baggert. Any more discussion? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. No entering parish right-of-way servitudes, easements, or Tammany trace revocations. Minor subdivision reviews. 2018-1273 MSP, a minor subdivision of a 1.8 acre parcel into parcel A, 1.14 acres, and parcel B, 0.66 acres in Mandeville. The owner is Deborah and Joseph Sicard. The surveyor is John G. Cummings and Associates. The parish council district representative is the Honorable Jacob Groby. The general location is the south side of Oscar Street, west of Mulberry Street, south of LA Highway 1088, Mandeville, Ward 4, District 7. Staff, your comments?
The applicant is requesting to create two parcels from a 1.8 acre parent parcel. Each parcel meets the minimum requirements of the underlying zoning district, which is A2 and A3 suburban. A waiver is being requested due to parcel B being under the minimum lot size of 1 acre per chapter 125, 188 minor subdivision review. Staff has no objection to the request, subject to the following revisions being made on the plat. Oscar Road be revised to Oscar Street. Include a signature line for chairman of the planning commission. In order to approve the request, a 2/3 majority vote of the full membership of the commission is needed pursuant to section 125-224 waiver of the regulations.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Your name and address?
Deborah Sicard, 65480 Mulberry Street in Mandeville. Our intention is to divide this one parcel into two parcels. I don't know if y'all still have the copy of this information that I have. This is all the properties on Oscar Street that have already been divided. There's probably over 60% that's already divided, less than an acre,
And the purpose of this
to
subdivision?
build a home
To build a home? I see you already have one home on one,
on one lot, build a home on the other lot.
okay.
And as a note, the zoning commission recommended approval of their zoning case, and then February 7th, the council gave final approval. So the property's already been rezoned to A3.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience want to speak in favor of this minor subdivision review? Against? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Baggett.
Yeah, I'll move to approve subject to staff recommendation.
Commissioner Baggett makes a motion to approve with the waiver and the staff recommendations. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. One other question. I'm just looking at the plot that you're subdividing into. So parcel B, will that be sharing the road on your part, on parcel A? Or do you expect the person who's building a house on parcel B to have their own road?
They both front Oscar Street.
So they'll have their own driveway, is what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, thank you. Any more discussion? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good night.
Next case is 2019-1349 MSP, a minor subdivision of a 19.89 acre parcel in the parcel A and B, Pearl River. The owner is Ruby Amy Teal. The surveyor is J.V. Burks and Associates. The Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Richard Tanner. The general location is the north side of Teal Road, east of Pitt Road, east of LA Highway 41, Pearl River, Ward 6, District 6. Staff, your comments on this one?
The applicant is requesting to create two parcels from a 19.89 acre parent parcel. Parcel B does not meet the minimum public road frontage of 150 foot, therefore is requesting a waiver of the regulations. The zoning commission approved a 1.47 acre parcel layout, and therefore the parcel cannot be amended to meet the minimum subdivision regulations. Staff is not in favor of the placement of parcel B, however, the zoning change has been approved. Approval shall be subject to the below revisions: revised Township 14 East to Range 14 East, and revise the access servitude to meet the minimum width of 30 foot. In order to approve the request, the 2/3 majority vote of the full membership of the commission is needed pursuant to section 125-224, waiver of the regulations.
Thank you. Ma'am,
Hi.
your
Yes.
name and address, please?
My name is Helen Anglade, and I live at 204 Morgan Drive, Slidell, Louisiana.
Okay. And is this your property, or?
It is my late brother and sister-in-law's property, and we are wanting to re-subdivide the 1.47 to build a house.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience want to speak in favor of this or against this? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, I'd like to approve this with the waiver.
I have a motion to approve the minor subdivision with the waiver. Commissioner Lauren.
I'll second that.
I have a second by Commissioner Lauren. Any more discussion? On this matter, I do have, I see parcel A and parcel B. Are the roads going to be accessed by the same road going to parcel B? Or
Yes.
you actually, or it is?
Yes.
Okay, so you're not making another road coming off of that load, the road at the very southern portion?
No.
Okay.
We're gonna have a long driveway from where the road stops. It's a long driveway, and all the mailboxes are in the same area where all the other ones are gonna be at the end of the road right there, which, so we ain't gonna make another road. We're just making a long driveway going to our acreage.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more comments? If not, please vote. And this is the vote on the minor subdivision with the waiver.
Mr. Doherty? Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, that's the end of the minor subdivision reviews. No petition requests, re-subdivision reviews, dormant subdivision reviews. Now we go to tentative subdivision review. Case 2019-1354 TP, Bellevue Estates, developer owner is H&I Investments. The engineer is Kelly McHugh and Associates. Parish Council District is the Honorable Jacob Groby. General location is the south side of Hoffman Road, east of LA Highway 59, Abita Springs, Ward 4, District 7. Staff, comments on this one?
Yes, sir. The tentative plan has been reviewed by this office, and an inspection was made of the site on January 29th, 2019. It is recommended that the tentative submittal be approved, subject to the following. Number one, 911 addressing office needs to be contacted for addressing and road name approval. Number two, a revised traffic impact analysis was received on February 1st, 2019, and is currently being reviewed. This study needs to be approved before a work order can be issued. Number three, written approval for crossing the right-of-way with a roadway from the gas line company will be required when submitting for preliminary approval. Number four, a waiver of the minimum lot frontage requirement is required for lots number 55, 56, and 57. It must be granted or the lot configuration revised to meet the minimum requirements. In order to approve the waiver request, a 2/3 majority vote of the full membership of the commission is needed pursuant to section 125, 224 waiver regulations of chapter 125. Number five, show proposed building setbacks delineated with dashed lines on all lots. Number six, add to restrictive covenant number 11, or 1 foot above the center line of the street, whichever is greater. Informational items. Parish code requires that a land clearing permit be applied for and obtained through the Department of Planning prior to the developer receiving a work order in conjunction with the preliminary subdivision review process.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone on behalf of the petitioner this evening. We have no concerns or complaints with regards to the staff comments, and we'll be able to address each of those before we come back to you at preliminary. To touch on a few items, in particular, item number 2 with regards to the traffic study. The only modification to the study was that we had to amend the sequencing or the timing of the light at Harrison and Highway 59 in accordance with some feedback from DOTD, which we have done, and which reflected no issues. With regards to the waiver in item 4, on these 3 particular lots, if you'll notice from the plat, they are in a curve, which is why we are having a problem with the lot width at the street. But if you would also note that each of them has more than the required depth, and the overall area of each of these lots is actually larger than the minimum for this particular zoning category. So we would respectfully request your approval this evening of each with the comments from the staff and in accordance with the plan that you have before you. I'll be happy to answer any questions that any of the commissioners might have.
Thank you. Is there any reason from the public to discuss? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Doherty.
We got it on that time. Paul, I'd like to compliment Mr. McHugh and his group coming with, 6 items? You know, we've got some on here tonight that's got 20 or 25 items, and that's just totally ridiculous on something like this. I will make a motion to approve.
With the is there with the waiver for the lot size on 57, 56, and 55?
Right. I had to go back and look to see what it was.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Doherty with the waiver for the lot size on 55, 56, and 57 fronts. Commissioner Lauren.
I'd like to echo what Commissioner Doherty had to say about the sparsity of the exceptions and whatnot, and I'll make a second to that motion.
I have a second from the motion by Commissioner
With
Lauren.
waiver.
With the waiver. Any more discussion? I have a question.
Yes, sir.
It's a question basically for staff too as well. The 30-foot access servitude coming off of Hoffman Road, is that normal to come directly off the road into a servitude to go to a detention pond? whereas on the other side of the development, you have it going between two lots, and it's a servitude going to the detention pond. I'm just wondering, is that just something that's,
The servitude is, for the detention pond, it's going to the detention pond. I don't
Right.
have the other plot.
well, that's okay. I have a question for Paul. This may solve everything right here, but since you have a limited frontage on 57 and 56 and 55, couldn't you just extend the width of 57, 56, and then make lot 55 not a lot? Have that as green space with the access leading from that area into the detention pond?
We could, but we would prefer not to lose that lot.
Okay. I was just, I was just trying to get no waivers, that's all.
It's a project that's very tight. That lot makes a big difference.
I was just trying
And
to save the waivers for you, that's all.
I appreciate the thought.
Okay,
We would prefer that.
all right. With that being said, please vote on the
Thank-
motion to approve with the
Thank you.
waiver.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see, that was what? Next case, preliminary subdivision review. 2018 1350 PP Whispering Forest. Developer owner is Robert Hessen. Engineer is Arrow Engineering and Consulting. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable James Thompson. General location, the south side of Joyner Weimer Road, west of LA Highway 1077, Covington, Ward 1, District 3. This was previously postponed at last month's meeting. Staff, comments?
Yes, sir. The preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office, and an inspection was made of the site. It is recommended that preliminary submittal be postponed due to the significant volume of additional detention storage required to provide the capacity for both the fill mitigation requirement and the detention requirement separately, or without utilizing the same excavation volume. However, should the Planning Commission grant preliminary approval, the following comments must be resolved before a work order is issued. Number one, a waiver is required for the entrance of the subdivision. The developer has proposed to use a 60-foot wide right-of-way at the entrance instead of the required 80-foot boulevard entrance. Staff has no objection to this proposal due to the layout of the entrance and the width of the existing right-of-way along Joyner Weimer Road. Additionally, the developer has proposed to relocate his existing drive at the entrance to a location within the subdivision to further improve the safety of this intersection. In order to approve the request, a 2/3 majority vote of the full membership of the commission is needed pursuant to 125-224 waiver of regulations of Chapter 125. Number two, plans have changed since the subdivision was reviewed by 911 addressing. Roadways will need to be renamed, lots readdressed, and this information added to the subdivision plat. Number three, provide a Army Corps permit for the areas of wetland being disturbed. Number four, provide a fill and grading statement for this development. Number five, provide a geotechnical report for this development. Number six, the waterline Whispering Forest is proposing to tie into has not been approved or constructed. Number seven, label all parcels on the preliminary plat. Number eight, remove restrictive covenant number 15. Number nine, include restrictive covenant number 11, a reference to the paving and drainage plan for allowable fill quantities. Number 10, proposed pond outfall drainage servitude will need to be recorded prior to the final plats being signed. Number 11, revised typical section on plat with typical section provided on the paving and drainage plan. 12, revised dedication statement to include who will own and maintain all signage and posts in this subdivision. 13, verify selection of 15-inch pipe downstream of two 18-inch pipes within the drainage servitude along the south side of the development, conveying drainage into pond from west side of property. 14, verify selection of two 18-inch pipes downstream of 15-inch driveway culverts, conveying drainage into pond from east side of property. Number 15, revise all upstream and downstream elevations and ditch elevations at lot corners. Table that conflict that with provide ditch elevations on plan. Okay. No, sir. Would you like me to continue? Number 16, fill mitigation and detention storage must be considered cumulatively and cannot count same excavation for both. Revised cut fill calculations, pond design, and notes as required. Number 17, verify selection of 15-inch culvert immediately downstream of 18-inch culvert for lot number 7. Number 18, provide a detail for the proposed T turnaround and provide auto turn simulation for a garbage truck. Number 19, plans and specifications for the construction of the project's water distribution lines and sewer collection lines have not yet been approved by the Louisiana Department of Health. Number 20, remove the ditch elevations at lot corners table from the sewer plan. 21, provide written approval from Tammany Utilities of the water and sewer plans for this subdivision. Number 22, the sewer force main along Joyner-Weimer Road will be required to be jack and bored due to limited right-of-way. 23, and these are drainage impact study comments, revise all storm event reports to use same TR55 time of concentration method as 100-year storm event, include pond data for all events, and add 10-year storm event data. Number 24, revise the Whispering Forest existing time of concentration per TR55 comments. Number 25, revise pre-development manning value used in report to accurately depict the existing site conditions. Number 26, revise manning value to accurately depict post-development sheet flow. Number 27, revise pipe manning value to .011 to accurately model HDPE pipe. Number 28, add statement clarifying that site has been evaluated for off-site drainage and whether or not it exists. Informational items, a funded maintenance obligation in the amount of $10,000 is required in accordance with St. Tammany Code of Ordinances and Development Code. Funded letters of credit for existing parish roads to ensure the repair of any damage to the parish roads resulting from construction in connection with the subdivision. An additional maintenance obligation in the amount of 2,345 linear feet at $5 per linear foot and 1 jack and bore at $5,000 per bore for a total of $16,700 is required for the construction of the sewer line within the Joyner-Weimer Road right-of-way to ensure the repair of any damage to the parish roads from construction activity in connection with installation of the sewer line. The Department of Public Works will also require a maintenance obligation before a land clearing permit is issued. The amount of this obligation will be established by Public Works upon review of the land clearing permit. Mandatory developmental fees will be required at final submittal in accordance with St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Land Development Code, Chapter 125, since no public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. The developer is hereby advised that upon application for final subdivision approval, the engineer of record for this development shall certify in writing that all aspects of construction have been completed in accordance with the approved plans and parish ordinances. If any construction activity is proposed that is not in substantial compliance with the approved plans and parish ordinances, the engineer of record for this development shall notify in writing the Department of Development prior to beginning said construction activity. The developer and/or engineer of record shall obtain written approval from the Department of Development prior to beginning any proposed construction activity that is not in substantial compliance with the approved plans and parish ordinances. Revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the February 12, 2019 Planning Commission meeting to ensure that any additional comments at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans.
Thank you for reading that all into public record. I appreciate it. Hopefully, take a break. Is there anybody to represent this case willing to speak? Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm Darrell Fussell with Aero Engineering, P.O. Box 881, Madisonville. And we have met with the engineering department and are in agreement with the comments, and we'll continue to work to get approval.
Okay. And I'm gonna, with that, I'm gonna bring it back to the commission to talk about the punch items. Commissioner Drum.
Oh, yes, sir. It sounds like the only thing that's been done is trees have been cut down and dirt moved. And so I'm going to bring forward a motion that this be delayed until this punch list gets really, really low.
Okay. So that's a motion to postpone?
That's a motion to deny and to postpone until necessary amount of time. Give them 2 months.
A motion to postpone for 2 months is your
Correct.
motion. I have a motion to postpone for 2 months. Commissioner Doherty. Do you second that motion? Is there a second?
I will second it, and I want to ask Mr. Fussell, is 2 months adequate to get this down to maybe 5 or 6 items?
Yes.
Okay. So I will second it.
Okay, I have a motion to postpone for 2 months and a second by Commissioner Doherty to postpone for 2 months. Any more discussion? If not, please vote. For motion to postpone for 2 months.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, next case is preliminary subdivision review 2019-1358 PP. Maison Trace, developer owner is First Horizon, Inc., engineer is T. Baker Smith, LLC, Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Riker Toledano. General location is north side of Strain Road, east of Highway 59, Mandeville, Ward 4, District 6. Staff?
Yes, sir. The preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office. An inspection was made of the site on January 29, 2019. It is recommended that preliminary submittal be postponed until a determination regarding the available sewer capacity of the existing Alamosa sewer treatment plant is resolved and required plans approved, or required plans and documentation regarding the potential expansion have been provided. Additionally, the current design for conveying the off-site drainage through the northeast corner of the site cannot be accessed or maintained by St. Tammany Parish Department of Public Works and will require modifications to the plans. However, should the Planning Commission grant preliminary approval, the following comments must be resolved before a work order is issued. Addressing still needs to be completed for Maison Trace through 911 addressing. Number 2, provide written permission or authorization by adjacent property owner to the west to allow pond to be modified in accordance with this plan and work to be performed on the property. Number 3, provide Army Corps permit for this development. Number 4, provide a Louisiana Department of Transportation permit for required work within Highway 59 right-of-way. Number 5, provide Gravity Drainage District Number 5 approval for this site. Number 6, add a note to the building setback table specifying the required setback for the access servitude on lots number 25 and number 26. Number 7, add a note to the building setback table specifying the required 10-foot side setback on lot number 6. Number 8, show required driveway section for lot number 6 on the preliminary plat. Number 9, provide benchmark information for this development. Number 10, revise restrictive covenant number 4 to the parish required finished floor elevation restrictive covenant. Number 11, a minimum 20-foot flat area needs to be provided between the property line and top bank of pond to allow for maintenance of the proposed subsurface pipes for Department of Public Works. Number 12, revise proposed fill and exterior lots to avoid adverse impact to adjacent property, including impedance. Number 13, add a north arrow to the proposed fill plan. Number 14, revise existing elevation callouts to be legible. 15, the proposed design of 3 36-inch concrete arch pipes and required drainage structures within a 20-foot servitude behind lots number 20 through number 25 is not maintainable or accessible by the Department of Public Works. Revised design include typical section. Number 16, add the proposed fill elevations shown in the proposed fill plan to the drainage plan. Number 17, add drainage arrows to each lot showing the required drainage direction. Number 18, provide elevations needed to provide positive flow along the Strain Road roadside ditch. Number 19, provide verification that the mean water level of the existing ditch that the pond is discharging to allows the detention design to function as intended after the alleged downstream blockages have been removed. 20, provide dimensions, depth, and top of bank elevations for typical ditch section, BB, including distance to protected wetland area on the east side. 21, the water and sewer plans and requirements for this development have not been completed. The developer is still working with H2O systems to determine if additional sewer capacity is needed. The plans and permitting for this infrastructure have not been completed or approved. 22, the sewer manhole number 8 invert elevation needs to be revised to provide positive flow. 23, sewer force main along Highway 59 is required to be bored under all existing pavements and driveways. 24, revise the sewer force main callout on sheet number 23 to show the required length. 25, revise the sewer force main callout on sheet number 23 to show required boring under Marion Lane. Informational items, a funded maintenance obligation, the amount of $10,000 is required in accordance with St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Land Development Code, Chapter 125. Funded letters of credit for existing parish roads to ensure the repair of any damage to the parish roads resulting from construction in connection with the subdivision. An additional maintenance obligation in the amount of 1,436 linear feet at $5 per linear foot of water line and 627 linear feet at $5 per linear foot of sewer line, and 3 jack and bore locations at $5,000 per bore for a total of $25,300 is required for the construction of the water and sewer line within the Strain Road and Marion Lane right-of-way to ensure the repair of damage to the parish roads from construction activity in connection with installation of the water and sewer lines. Mandatory developmental fees will be required at final submittal in accordance with St. Tammany Code of Ordinances, Chapter 125, since no public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. The developer is hereby advised that upon application for final subdivision approval, the engineer of record for this development shall certify in writing that all aspects of construction have been completed in accordance with the approved plans and parish ordinances. If any construction activity is proposed that is not in substantial compliance with the approved plans and parish ordinances, the engineer of record for this development shall notify in writing the Department of Development prior to beginning said construction activity. The developer and/or engineer of record shall obtain written approval from the Department of Development prior to beginning any proposed construction activity that is not in substantial compliance with the approved plans and parish ordinances. Revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the February 12, 2019 Planning Commission meeting to ensure that any additional comments at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans.
Thank you again for reading that into public record. Mr. Shane.
Good evening. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, and I represent First Horizon, Inc., which is the owner and developer of this subdivision. I am very mindful of the practice that this commission follows as it relates to asking developers and developments to have their business in order and to try to have as many things resolved before we come before you seeking consent or permission as it relates to tentative, preliminary, final, or for that matter, any other matter on your docket. I also have been in the room all evening and watched the case before. I would like to spend just a few minutes suggesting to you that I think the preliminary approval that we seek this evening is distinguishable from the last case in that the 25 items before you, in our view, really get down to 4 issues. And I would at least like you to understand why we would ask you to consider granting preliminary subdivision approval this evening. Let me start by saying very clearly that even if this commission were to grant preliminary subdivision approval this evening, we do not seek nor would we expect even a limited work order of any sort until and unless staff has approved any conditions that might go with the approval this evening. So this is not a rush to get out into the field, to start clearing, moving dirt, etc. tomorrow morning if we get an approval this evening, even though it's obvious that there are some elements of this discussion that won't happen overnight. The other thing I think I'd like you to be aware of is that we have already scheduled a meeting with staff for Wednesday of next week, February the 20th, to discuss our responses to these comments and our ideas that we think resolve the issues that have been raised in staff comments. You as a commission know that when the staff report comes out, and in this case it comes out on the 5th, we don't have the ability to respond or provide revisions until after tonight's meeting. And we certainly understand and respect why that is so. Staff does a great job just making their reviews and getting the comments out on the 5th. But also I hope you can appreciate that from the owner-developer's perspective, we continue to work on the project, and when we have a list of 25 and we think that we have resolved it to maybe a list of 4 items, we feel like it's not inappropriate for us to go through some of those details with you. So without further ado, what I would suggest is that we agree with all of staff comments in substance, all 25 items, but I would like to point out the 4 items that we think are the most substantive and let you know what our approach is as it relates to those items. If you will look first of all at Item 2 under the general comments, we have procured last Friday evening a notarized written authorization from the adjacent property owner that would allow us to proceed and do the work that is required in order to fill in a portion of this pond that is on the adjoining neighbor's property. I might add that as to items 3 and 4, those permits have been applied for, and as it relates to item 5, Gravity Drainage District 5 and its engineer, Mr. Jean Thibodeau, is currently reviewing our plans. I would like to skip down to item 15 with regard to a request that our servitude, which we propose to be 20 feet, be enlarged. We have now come back with the design for a 25-foot wide servitude that's inclusive of 3 underground drainage pipes and also provides, in our view, adequate distances on each side of those pipes for service and maintenance in the future. Again, these are plans that we will be sharing with staff in the days to come. As it relates to item 19, we think that comment is valid, but want you to understand that the parish, through its Department of Public Works, is currently in the process, or maybe I should say we understand that they have scheduled to clear some of these blockages, presumably beaver dams, in these areas downstream, and that once that's done, we will be able to provide the verification that's been requested to make sure that the detention design that we have put together for this project in fact works. Last but certainly not least is item 21. And we have spoken with H2O as recently as today. They will be the provider of our utilities from Alamosa Park, which is across Highway 59, just a little further to the north. There's no doubt or question as to their willingness or ability to provide. It's a question of whether they add to the plant or in fact come in with a larger plant. But in either event, there's no suggestion that that can't be done during the time period in which we would actually be building out the subdivision. So rather than waiting for that plan to crystallize on their end, the developer is willing to take the risk, if you will, once we have, again, submitted necessary documents to staff and give them a comfort level to issue a work order. We would like to proceed understanding that there's no way we'll get final subdivision unless obviously we have central utilities from H2O. So I'm not naive and understand that some of these issues are a little out of the ordinary, but it's truly my belief that of the 25 comments made, 21 of them have or will soon be satisfied by written documentation that will be submitted to staff. The other 4 that I have mentioned, I've given you what we think are some good reasons for you to consider granting approval this evening. Let me just close in again reiterating that we stipulate on the record that if we get preliminary subdivision, we understand that we will not even receive a limited work order until all of the conditions on this staff report have in fact been approved or determined to be satisfactory by your staff. I appreciate your time, and I'll be glad to address questions at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the public who would like to speak in favor of this preliminary subdivision or against? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Drum.
Yes, sir. I had set the precedent for the last applicant, and he had a number of items that needed to be done. And yes, we have been told that on this one as well, we will receive the necessary paperwork, but I think we should delay it at least 30 days until we have the paperwork in our hands to proceed. So I'd make a motion that we wait 30 days, postpone for 30 days.
Okay. I have a motion to postpone for 30 days by Commissioner Drum. Commissioner Doherty?
Mr. Shane, I'm going to concur and second Commissioner Drum's motion. Y'all will be able to continue working on this, even though we have a motion on the floor to postpone for 1 month. And it's part of this commission's responsibility to see that everything is done that we need to have done. And unfortunately, you've got 25 items, and I understand what you're saying about the 4, and I agree with you about the 4, but we as a commission do not like to see these long punch lists. And we've had situations, and I'm not going to get into who the developer was or who the engineer was or anything, where several years ago we had some approvals go through that we left it up to the staff to be sure that things got done, and for some reason they didn't get done. And consequently, we've had some problems, and therefore I'm going to second Commissioner Drum's motion to postpone for 1 month. That'll give you all time to meet with staff and come back with hopefully a much cleaner punch list. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a motion to postpone by Commissioner Drum for 1 month and a second by Commissioner Doherty. Any more discussion? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay. Now we go to final subdivision review. We have 2019-1356 FP, Beatico Creek, parcel 13, developer owner is Beatico Creek Preserve, LLC. The engineer is Kelly McHugh and Associates. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable Marty Dean. The location is north of LA Highway 1085, south of I-12, Madisonville, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
Yes, sir. Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on January 31st, 2019. The inspection disclosed that all of the concrete roads are constructed and road shoulders need to be constructed and the roadside ditches need final grading. The following uncompleted items existed at the time of the final inspection and will be completed before the plats are signed. Number 1, base tests are needed. Number 2, concrete test results are needed. Number 3, utility trench bedding test results are needed. Number 4, utility trench backfill test results are needed. Number 5, the roadway needs to be broomed so that a meaningful inspection can be made. Number 6, roadside shoulders need to be regraded. Number 7, the cul-de-sac landscape area at the end of Bald Eagle Circle needs to be filled and graded. Number 8, replace all knocked over traffic control signs. Number 9, remove lot number 850 from the driveway culvert schedule as this was omitted. Number 10, a negative bacteriological report relative to the construction of the project's water system has not been issued by LDH or OBH as required. Number 11, a letter of acceptance and responsibility for the perpetual maintenance and operation of the water and sewer system has not been issued by the utility provider as required. Informational items, should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 2,400 linear feet at $25 per linear foot, for a total of $60,000 for a period of 2 years. The staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request, subject to the developer complying with all comments and no plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. No mandatory developmental fees are required since a public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. This subdivision is within the urban growth boundary line. Revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the February 12, 2019 Planning Commission meeting to ensure that any additional comments established at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans.
Thank you. Mr. Morone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Morone, on behalf of Beatico Creek Preserve LLC, with regards to parcel 13. All of the items on the list have been completed. The roadside shoulders have been constructed. They have been graded. All of the test results, items 1 through 4, have been done and have been resubmitted to the staff. The roadway's been cleaned. The roadway shoulders were graded, and the work in the cul-de-sac is done, and the signs have been replaced. With regards to the water and sewer plan, we received the letter of acceptance and responsibility from Tammany Utilities on February the 7th. Likewise, that could not have been issued unless the negative bacteriological report had been received, so it has been received as well. So all of these items are completed. There is, though, after speaking with Mr. McHugh, who made an inspection today, and the contractor yesterday, there is still some fine grading that needs to be done on the shoulders. The shoulders are constructed and graded, but there is the final grade needs to be done, and we just need a little warm weather, dry weather, to be able to do that. But that's the only work that remains, and we can do that within a day if we get the weather to do that. The only other item that I would note for you is that after our plats were submitted, the developer determined that we needed to modify the setbacks on lot 829, which if you will look at your plat, you'll see it is at the very southern end of Bald Eagle Circle. It's the very last lot there. And we have talked with staff about that. I don't believe staff has any problem with the modification, but I wanted to bring it to the attention of the commission so that you would be aware of it when you consider our request this evening. The proposed setbacks are 15 feet on the front and the rear and 5 feet on each side. So I wanted to make that note clear for the record so that you could consider that. Otherwise, all of the work and all of the testing is completed, save the final grade on the shoulders, which again is a day's worth of work. We would respectfully request your approval for final on parcel 13, subject to the staff comments and my explanations this evening. I'll be happy to answer any questions that any of the commissioners might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Any comments from the public for approval or disapproval of this final subdivision? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
The modification of the setback on lot 829,
Yes,
okay. You said 15 feet front and rear,
correct.
okay. And what was it before? I don't have my drawing in front of me.
The standard setbacks are 20 feet on the front and 25 on the rear, and 5 on each side. So the sides stay the same, but given the configuration of the lot, we're asking to go to 15 feet on the front and the rear.
Okay. And staff, you all did not have any problems with that?
No, sir, we have no objection to that.
I make a move to approve with the modification of the setback.
Okay. I have a motion to approve the final subdivision with the modification of the setback on the one lot. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I'll second that motion.
I have a second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Still on to final subdivision, 2019-1357 FP, Lakeshore Villages, Phase 3, A1. The developer owner is D.R. Horton, Engineer Duplantis Design Group, LLC. Parish Council District Representative is Honorable Michelle Blanchard. The general location is the east side of Lakeshore Village East Boulevard, north of Oak Harbor Boulevard, west of LA Highway 433, east of I-10, Slidell, Ward 9, District 13. Staff?
Yes, sir. Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on January 29th, 2019. The inspection disclosed that all the asphalt roads and concrete roads with curb and gutter and subsurface drainage have been constructed. The following uncompleted items existed at the time of the final inspection and will be completed before the plats are signed. Number 1, base test results are needed. Number 2, asphalt test results are needed. Number 3, concrete test results are needed. Number 4, utility trench bedding test results are needed. Number 5, utility trench backfill test results are needed. Number 6, the roadway needs to be broomed so that a meaningful inspection can be made. Number 7, show PUD-specific setbacks only. Remove reference to St. Tammany Parish ordinance setback requirements from the notes section. Number 8, lot addresses for this phase need to be added to the final plat and approved by 911 addressing. Number 9, subdivision footprint needs to be revised to include the boulevard entrance road. Number 10, all old topographic layers need to be removed and only as-built conditions shown. Number 11, provide a typical concrete roadway section. Number 12, provide concrete pavement thickness in the sheet legend. Number 13, provide drainage structures 146 and 151 structure tie-in as-built information. Number 14, provide the water main pipe diameter and material in the sheet legend. Number 15, the water and sewer lines outside of the platted footprint need to have a utility servitude established around them and shown on the final plat to be recorded. Number 16, some of the gravity sewer lines laid do not meet the recommended minimum slope of 0.4%. The engineer of record must certify that the as-built lines can achieve a clearing velocity of 2 feet per second. Number 17, a negative bacteriological report relative to the construction of the project's water system has not been issued by LDH as required. Number 18, a letter of acceptance and responsibility for the perpetual maintenance and operation of the water and sewer system has not been issued by the utility provider as required. Number 19, written verification from the utility provider is required, certifying that Oak Harbor East Utility System currently has water and sewer capacity for this development. Number 20, a temporary end-of-road treatment is required at the Windard Arbor Lane stub-out in accordance with the approved preliminary plans. Informational items. Should the planning commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 1,757 linear feet of asphalt road at $22 per linear foot and 389 linear feet of concrete road at $25 per linear foot, for a total of $48,400 for a period of 2 years. The staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request, subject to the developer complying with all comments and no plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. No mandatory development fees are required since a public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. This subdivision is within the urban growth boundary line. Revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the February 12, 2019 Planning Commission meeting to ensure that any additional comments established at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, and I represent D.R. Horton, Inc., Gulf Coast. We appreciate staff's recommendation that final subdivision approval be granted this evening, subject to staff comments. If I could, I would like to provide responses to the 20 items that have been read to you this evening. With regard to items 1 through 5, test results for the base, concrete, utility trench bedding, and utility trench backfill have been provided to the parish. We await results of the asphalt test. 4 asphalt cores have been done, and we're waiting for those and should be submitting those shortly. As it relates to item 6, weather has prevented our contractor from broom cleaning the roadways, but as soon as the weather provides that opportunity, we agree that the road needs to be cleaned so that the inspection can be made by the parish. As it relates to comment 7, the final plat will be revised to eliminate the reference to St. Tammany Parish's ordinance setback requirements, since we are in a PUD and the PUD has its own setback requirements. So that's just nomenclature that we'll take care of. As to item 8, lot addresses have been provided by 911 addressing, and so they'll be added to the final plat as well. We disagree that comment 9 is really appropriate in light of the fact that the appropriate platting and approvals of the boulevard entrance coming from Phase 3A1 to Phase 1A has previously been handled through a re-subdivision of Phase 1A. So we understand the spirit of that comment, but the point is that we think the issue that it raises has been accomplished through the re-subdivision that's already been done. As to item 10, the topographic information shown is in fact the as-built condition. As to 11, a typical section for the concrete will be added to the as-builts. 12, the sheet legend will be updated to the concrete pavement thickness as requested. 13, we understand from speaking with staff that their intent is that we verify that the tie-in was grouted and made per plans. We'll add a note to the as-built plans clarifying this connection and addressing that comment. With regard to comment 14, the water main diameter and material will be added to the sheet legend. 15, the final plat will be revised to show a utility servitude for the water and sewer that needed to be installed in order to service Phase 3A1, even though it's located outside of the platted footprint. As to comment 16, we're currently coordinating between the contractor and surveyor regarding the slopes in order to provide clear direction on what needs to be done in the field to achieve the recommended minimum slopes. As to 17, OHEU is in receipt of the negative bacteriological reports, and we're working on getting a copy of those reports to staff. 18, we've been in contact with OHEU regarding the letter of acceptance and responsibility. They have listed for us the items that need to be completed by the contractor in order for them to provide the letter of acceptance. And as to item 20, that matter has been taken care of. The Type 3 barricade has been placed at the location in question. We feel like, as I've just indicated, that the comments have been addressed either in fact on the ground or will in fact be addressed on revised plats. We apologize that there are 20 items. At least they're not 25 like some other cases I have handled this evening. And I hope that the tenor of these 20 comments are far different maybe than the prior. So We would respectfully request that you consider granting final subdivision approval this evening. And as always, if any of you have any questions or comments that you'd like me to address, I am ready, willing, and able.
Thank you, Mr. Sheen. Anyone in the public want to speak in favor of the final subdivision review or against? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Darty.
Mr. Shane, these are entirely different than the previous ones. Most of these, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3, are all paperwork issues as far as I'm concerned. And with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve, subject to comments.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Darty. Do I have a second? Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, I'd like to second and also make the comment, Mr. Shane, you actually had about 14 items outstanding instead of 20. So, yeah, you did good. You did good. But I second.
I have a second by Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess this question's to the staff. We just have a motion subject to these comments, but Mr. Shane has taken exception with item number 9, so I want to make sure we're voting on whether or not we can exclude item number 9 or it's a waiver request, because subdivision footprint needs to be revised to include the boulevard entrance road. Mr. Shane seems to think that that's been resolved or that shouldn't be in this list, and I would like to know whether or not that is the case.
Yes, sir. Mr. Shane is correct in his statement, and you guys can disregard comment number 9.
Thank you. So therefore, the motion is subject to all of the comments except for number 9. Thank you.
Commissioner Darty, again?
Basically, the staff and maybe Mr. Shane as well, but more to staff. There's been a lot of dirt hauled into lakeshore villages, extremely heavy trucks and so forth. How do we, as a parish, protect the roads that are outside of the subdivision itself? Like this goes on a service road coming off of the I-10. And I know where the dirt's coming from too, and we've got problems on those roads, but that doesn't have anything to do with this.
Right. We have a maintenance obligation that covers the existing parish roads outside of the subdivision. And Public Works, I believe, has a $200,000 obligation for the service road in connection with the dirt hauling that's happening with the road, or with the subdivision.
On the service road going into Lakeshore Village?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I have a motion to approve final subdivisions by Commissioner Randolph, is that correct? With a second by Commissioner Doherty, I believe, is that correct? Sorry. A motion to approve by Commissioner Doherty with a second by Commissioner Randolph, except for comment number 9, is that correct? In the final plat comments. Okay, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Case number 2019-1359 FP, the landing of Cross Gates, Phase 5, developer owner is Mac Development LLC, engineers J.V. Berks and Associates. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable E.L. Belisaro. The general location is north of Crawford Road, east of LA Highway 1090, north of I-10, Slidell, Ward 8, District 9. Staff?
Yes, sir. Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on January 29th, 2019. The inspection disclosed that all the concrete roads with curb and gutter and subsurface drainage have been constructed. The following uncompleted items existed at the time of the final inspection and will be completed before the plats are signed. Number 1, the developer, his engineer, nor the contractor provided for the parish inspector to witness a proof roll of a section of the roadway subbase as required by the ordinance. Therefore, the warranty obligation will be established for 5 years in lieu of 2 years to properly observe the roadway stability. Number 2, engineers' periodic inspection reports need to be submitted. Number 3, blue reflectors need to be installed at all fire hydrants. Number 4, all drawings need to be signed, dated, and stamped by the appropriate professional. Number 5, text and callouts throughout the plan set need to be revised or removed to be legible so a meaningful review can be performed. Number 6, several lots are in flood zone A. These lots have a 12-foot drop-off typically. The note indicating that the lots can be filled should incorporate that this is a no net fill area. Number 7, revise the area shown in the subdivision information to only reflect Phase 5. Number 8, lots that do not meet the minimum 90-foot width must request a waiver of the subdivision regulations. In order to approve a waiver request, a two-thirds majority vote of the full membership of the commission is needed pursuant to Section 125-224, waiver of regulations of Chapter 125. Number 9, the rear building setback for lots number 61 through number 67 are in conflict with a 25-foot no-cut buffer. Revise the setback to eliminate this conflict. Number 10, restrictive covenant number 10 needs to be revised and corrected. Number 11, revise drainage callouts to as-built slope conditions. Number 12, some of the gravity sewer lines laid do not meet the recommended minimum slope at 0.4%. The engineer of record must certify that the as-built lines can achieve a clearing velocity of 2 feet per second. Number 13, a negative bacteriological report relative to the construction of the project's water system has not been issued by LDH as required. Number 14, a letter of acceptance and responsibility for the perpetual maintenance and operation of the water and sewer system has not been issued by the utility provider as required. Number 15, delete incomplete note number 9 in the water notes section. Number 16, delete note number 21 in the water notes section. Number 17, delete note number 22 in the water notes section. Number 18, revise the signage legend to show a W14-2 no outlet sign. Informational items. Should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 2,755 linear feet at $25 per linear foot for a total of $68,900 for a period of 5 years. The staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request, subject to the developer complying with all comments and no plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. No mandatory developmental fees are required since a public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. This subdivision is within the urban growth boundary line. Revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the February 12, 2019 Planning Commission meeting to ensure that any additional comments established at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sean Burks with JV Burks and Associates, representing the developer in this case. In regard to the staff comments, we agree in general with all the comments. We either have, as far as the test results, we either have them or we've given them to the parish. Periodic inspection reports, we have them. I believe that we've been emailing them, but I believe there was a change up in who got what, and so, but anyway, we do have all those reports. We can get that sent on over. As far as all the other comments, we generally agree with everything. As far as things that might pop out, most of them are just drafting changes. As far as the sewer plan, when the survey crew went out there, they shot the bottom of the manholes, the actual the sections had not been grouted up from invert to invert of the sewer pipe, so some of those elevations are different. Survey crew is going back out to check that out, but we're resubmitting that in. It'll be probably the next day or so. We'll be able to get that into the parish. We did receive an acceptance from Tammany Utilities. We did not receive the bacteriological report, but they wouldn't have accepted it unless they had a good bacteriological report. The main issue we wanted to kind of bring up to a point is the entire subdivision was poured concrete with the exception of the cul-de-sac at Mossy Swamp Lane. There was 3 small sections within that cul-de-sac that failed the proof roll. They had a big rain coming. We sent an email out to the parish. We suggested for them to remove that bad section, place the sand in place, and then go ahead and get it set up. There was a snafu on communication, and they went ahead and they poured that section. So we notified staff, hey, look, they went ahead and poured this without this final proof roll. So we definitely agree that that one section, it's about 200 or so feet, that actually was not witnessed after the final work. We would hope that the commission would allow us to do 2-year warranty obligation for the entire development, and just that cul-de-sac that was not witnessed, do an additional 3 years on top of that one little section. And it's about 200 feet. It's less than 8% of the old roadway that wasn't witnessed. If y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay. Do I have anybody in the public want to speak in favor of this case or against this case? If not, I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I'm glad you brought up, that was going to be my question about that, about the concrete. So I guess to staff, would you be okay with that? With what Sean's recommending, suggesting?
We wouldn't be in favor of splitting it to have a 2-year warranty obligation and then a 5-year warranty obligation. I think there's some logistical issues between when the parish would accept certain infrastructure into the maintenance system, but still have outstanding warranty items for an additional period of time. I think if the commission wants to set the obligation at 2 years, we would want it to be 2 years for the whole subdivision or 5 years for the whole subdivision, just one way or the other.
What I can say is that what we would hope that, and we have checked with our bond attorney, we do believe that we could do 2 years on the entire subdivision and then come back in on that one section and do an extra 3 years on that back section. But we would have to do that at that time.
Right, would that satisfy staff? Release them in the second year, except for renew a 3-year on one section. You'd rather just be done with the whole thing at one time?
Exactly.
I got you. Okay. I'll listen to other comments before I make a recommendation.
Commissioner Randolph.
Aside of that issue, item number 8,
Yes.
lots that do not meet the 90 feet waiver,
Yes.
how many lots are we talking?
I'm not sure how many don't meet 90 feet. I think I counted 2. But some of those were in cul-de-sac or in the curves in the road.
Well, and I think Kara's going to speak to this as well,
Sure.
but the subdivision was approved at preliminary with this lot layout, and staff feels that this is, I'll let Kara go.
Like Jay was saying, the subdivision was approved with this layout. I just think the waivers were not requested at preliminary or tentative. So we can get with the developer to make sure that we have a written request for all the lots that need it, and it'll go in the subdivision file. It just, like I said, didn't get requested at the time of preliminary.
What I can point out is lot 50, I'm gonna get my glasses on. My eyes have gotten to the age. I even have my own pocket right here. On lot 53, that's probably the smallest one. The lot fans out, and at the setback line, it's right around the same width that the setback lines of 90-foot wide lots. It's just since it's in a curve and it's fanned out, that is one lot that's definitely below. We have another one that's at the very, let's see, lot 157. And I can't read the numbers right there. I think we're within a foot of being 90 feet. And that's, once again, that's in a curve as well, too. But if it makes you feel warmer and fuzzier, this original subdivision was approved in 1997. It was approved in 2012. It was approved in 2015. It's gone through the ringer several times by this commission. The lots really haven't changed.
We just want to have something in writing that for later on down the road, that someone says, oh, this lot doesn't meet the minimum standards, that a waiver was requested. And I can get with Sean and make sure that all the lots are covered.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion, well, I'll wait to hear from I'd like to make a motion that we accept the final this final approval with the waiver of number 8, and also the 2-year. The 2-year
Instead of the 5-year warranty?
instead of the 5-year.
I have a motion to approve final subdivision by Commissioner Randolph with the waiver of comment number 8 and with only a 2-year warranty obligation instead of 5 years or warranty for the roadway stability. Do I have a second on that? Not yet. Commissioner Doherty. Oh, we gotta have I have to have a second for discussion, sorry.
I'll go ahead and second it.
Okay, I have a
Then
second
we'll
by Commissioner Doherty.
discuss it. I'm a little bit concerned about the going down to 2 years on this area that it's not completed properly, I guess is the right, and staff's concern is what, just being able to keep track of it?
Being able to keep track of it, and once the 2-year warranty obligation comes up to expire, we'll go out and do an inspection, a warranty obligation inspection, make sure that any punch list items are completed, and then take it into the maintenance system. And that'll go to council and take it into the maintenance system for Public Works. But if we have a 2-year warranty on a portion of the subdivision, then we have an additional 3 more years for a total of a 5-year warranty on another portion of the subdivision. I just think it's gonna cause problems once we get to the end of
So at
the
the
warranty.
end of 2 years, if there's a problem, then you go back?
If there's an issue at the end of 2 years, we'll make we'll make the punch list, and we'll have the developer, satisfy the punch list of any deficient items in the subdivision. But once the 2 years is up, then we would take it into the maintenance system once the items are completed. And we would recommend release of the obligation.
Okay, I just want to be sure that, there was a miscommunication apparently between staff and the engineer, that we don't have another miscommunication, because there's been times that the streets in that subdivision have caused, I know Mr. Belisario, some problems, and, we don't want any more problems in that subdivision. So I will second it.
I have a second by Commissioner Doherty. I have a motion to approve the final subdivision with the waiver for comment number 8, about the 90-foot minimum width lots, and also to restrict the warranty obligation to only 2 years. And this was by Commissioner Randolph, and a second by Commissioner Doherty. Any more discussion? If not, please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Amendments to Chapter 125 subdivision regulations look like was withdrawn, is that correct? Okay, let's go to old business. 2016-252 PP Wingfield request to waive the requirement for placing a fire hydrant on Joyner Weimer Road. Developer owner is Bruno Brothers Real Estate Management and Development. Engineer is Arrow Engineering and Consultant. Parish Council District Representative is the Honorable James Thompson. This was postponed at last month's meeting. Staff?
Yes, sir. Honorable Commissioners, this waiver request was postponed last month to verify that the Planning Commissioners have the authority to grant the requested waiver. It was verified that the Planning Commission has the authority to grant the waiver of Ordinance 125-86, Part D, Subpart 2. The waiver request is as follows. The developer has requested a waiver to not be required to install fire hydrants within the right-of-way of Joyner Weimer Road due to the limited width of the current right-of-way. Should the waiver be approved, then the developer shall obtain the required waiver approval from the Department of Environmental Services for Ordinance 40-104, Part G. This authorization is for St. Tammany Parish government and does not eliminate the need to secure approvals from any other federal, state, or local agency. Thank you.
Is there anybody else from the other? Yes, sir.
Daryl Facil, Aero Engineering, P.O. Box 881, Madisonville, and I'm representing Mr. Bruno. And we're requesting this waiver specifically because of right-of-way issues. The road is very narrow, and in order to put a fire hydrant on the line, you have to offset the fire hydrant, and that would be offsetting the fire hydrant into the landowner's property. And the landowners out there have been less than happy about the installation of the water line, much less going on their property with the fire hydrants. And that's practically what's happening. We are going to install, we would install some fire hydrants, but that would be the portion of our subdivision along Joyner-Weimer. So I think there was be 3 or 4 fire hydrants placed in that area. But from where our subdivision ends all the way down to 1077, that's what we're asking for the waiver.
Okay. Is there anybody in public who would like to speak about this? If not, we'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, maybe of Daryl and of staff. I understand about the right-of-way, but we also received a letter from the fire district, and they suggesting that we don't provide the waiver, right? That's what I'm getting from the letter. And I don't really know their reasons why, but other than safety. So my suggestion is there another location this fire hydrant could be placed near? 'Cause I know we postponed the subdivision on Joyner-Weimer Road, a 9-lot subdivision, and there's probably another subdivision along that road. And I don't know how many homes. So is there a possibility of putting a subdivision in fire hydrant in those subdivisions or along Joyner-Weimer Road, maybe where Bunny Lane comes in? I don't know. I'm just asking.
Well, that's the only road. Bunny Lane is the only road right now.
Right now. That's what I understand.
Yeah, and I don't have any knowledge of those other subdivisions, but we would be certainly open to doing that.
Okay, or fire hydrants required inside the subdivisions, like the 9-lot subdivision?
Yes, fire hydrants are required inside the subdivision.
So there would be fire hydrants in their subdivision at the end on?
Correct. There's 2 subdivisions at the end of Joyner-Weimer Road. One of them, you heard the case earlier tonight. Another case was approved by y'all a couple of years ago. And both of those subdivisions have central water and sewer, and they both have fire hydrants within the subdivision.
So from staff's point of view, would there be enough fire hydrants in the area to provide safety for the residents?
Well, the ordinance requires fire hydrants every 500 feet or at intersections, roadway intersections. So it doesn't meet, it's not in compliance with the ordinance as written. That's why they're requesting the waiver.
I'm more concerned about having the fire hydrants there for fire protection.
Excuse me, Carl Perkins, representing Bruno Brothers Property Management. If I may, there are fire hydrants every 500 feet within the subdivision on Wingfield. And there are fire hydrants every 500 feet along Joyner-Weimer Road for 1,600 feet going from west to east on Joyner-Weimer on the perimeter of our subdivision. There's also fire hydrants being installed from our subdivision another 800 feet to the corner of Bunny Lane and Joyner-Weimer Road. The request is from Bunny Lane to the end of Joyner-Weimer on 1077. And one of the principal reasons for the request for the waiver is that Tammany Utilities, in several different meetings we've had with staff, indicated that if the fire hydrants are even installed, there's no room to work. They couldn't encroach on the homeowner's property to service the fire hydrants. And that's what generated the request for the waiver of the fire.
You talking about the fire hydrants on Joyner-Weimer Road at the corner or along Joyner-Weimer Road?
Along Joyner-Weimer Road from Bunny Lane.
All the way to the
Highway 1077.
Okay. Well, I'm just, wondering why fire protection, with all these fire hydrants y'all mentioned, seemed like the fire district would have said, okay, we got plenty of fire hydrants in the area.
Because fire districts like fire hydrants.
Well, I know that they like hoses too, so.
They just like more and more. This just couldn't be.
But Okay, that was my major concern, make sure we have enough fire hydrants in there for fire protection.
If there were room to put them, we would have put them, but there's just no way that they can be put in service, placed in service.
I'll move for approval.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Lauren? Or do I have a second on that?
It's beyond just the safety matter. Every one of us in this room are affected by our homeowners' insurance.
Commissioner Lauren, I'm going to have to stop you on that. I need to have a second before we can have discussion.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. But my comment is, everybody is affected by homeowners' insurance. And the thing that the fire districts tell us is the best way to drive down your insurance rating or improve your insurance rating, which would lower your rates, is to have more fire hydrants in the parish. Okay? So it's not just a matter of safety. And the question to me is, if the fire department is telling us that they're opposed to it, it would lead me to believe that they don't think that there's enough fire hydrants.
Well, the only thing I could add about that is that, you know, this is one of those areas that's, that was very rural, and the 500-foot spacing is not typical of rural water lines. You know, a lot of times when we do rural water lines, we'll do 1,200 feet, 1,500 feet for fire hydrants, you know, way out in the country, you know, so to speak. So these subdivisions, you know, create a lot more fire hydrants than they have out there right now, which is 0. So, you know, that's as far as insurance ratings. But I understand what you're saying.
You through, Puck?
It still doesn't answer my question, is that if the fire department knows more about it than any of us in this room, and if they're opposed to it, it leads me to wonder why.
Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I understand both sides of it, and Pug, I understand the fire department. I don't think that they have any flexibility in the matter. They have to keep it at their certain distance. The problem I see here is that the developer is not requesting not to do it just because they don't want to. They're being told by the parish they won't have an opportunity to work on the hydrant if it's installed. And that's utility, I mean, isn't it Tammany Utilities? Right, so.
Yeah, this is Tammany Utilities.
Yeah, Tammany Utilities. So the developer's willing to do it, and the parish is essentially asking them not to do it because they won't have the ability to work on it. So it's a bit of a quagmire, but not that we're going to take a vote yet, but I'm in favor of granting the waiver just for those circumstances, that it's really outside of their control.
Commissioner Doherty, you have the floor.
Thank you. The reason we got the letter from the fire district was the gentleman, I believe he said in his letter, is out of town, and he wanted to try and give us some information from their standpoint. And I don't know, I would like to have an opportunity to talk to the fire district, and if it means delay for till next month to handle this, we can do it. I mean, nothing's gonna happen, whether they go forward or not. But be sure that the fire district would have somebody here to answer some questions. And Mr. Fusel's comment, you know, it was a rural area once upon a time. Well, St. Tammany was a rural parish at once upon a time too, but if they would possibly accept a further distance, and we approved it with an exception to give some fire hydrants along that area. Figure out a way so that if they need to service or work on a fire hydrant, they can. I don't know how much work goes on as far as a fire hydrant. I've got one lot down from my house, and all they do is come out and flush it from time to time. They did have to raise the fire hydrant because it's been filled in around, and the parish owns that lot, but they've raised that fire hydrant and several others, and that I can see would possibly cause a problem. But if they're installed properly, I don't know what other maintenance you would have on a fire hydrant.
Well, it's, to install them, you're gonna have to get right-of-way from landowners. That's the difference. In all these other subdivisions that we do, the fire hydrants are installed within the 60-foot right-of-way for the roads, and we don't have right-of-way. We're basically placing the water line on the very edge of the water, of the narrow right-of-way for that road. So that's.
Right, that's the issue here, is that, and typically within the developed, in both of the subdivisions at the end of Joyner Weimer, you've got right-of-way, and then you typically have a 10 or a 12-foot utility servitude just on the outside of the right-of-way, so that usually the water lines are within the right-of-way, and then the fire hydrants will go out into that utility servitude. This is an old Joyner Weimer Road, wasn't constructed in conjunction with the subdivision, and we didn't have a 60-foot right-of-way platted with a utility servitude on the outside. So it's a narrow right-of-way with no utility servitude for the fire hydrants to be located within.
Commissioner Willie.
Yeah, just another, I was still gonna move for that approval, but, question, you was planning to put the fire hydrant on where the water line is, right, on that side of it. Is there any room on the other side of the road where you could do a road bore and get, it'd be a different property owner that may not give you trouble?
It's still the same situation as far as.
Okay, I'm not, yeah, I know the
width of the right-of-way
I know
is the
that's
same.
narrow.
Yeah.
I know it's a narrow road.
Yeah.
But you was trying to get right away from the property owner, you said that was giving you trouble.
Well.
The other side of the road would be a different property owner.
Yeah, well, what I said was just in general, the neighbors
Okay.
just are upset about the water line, period.
All right, I'll still move for approval.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Willie with the waiver, correct? And a second by Mr. Lauren. Please vote.
Mr. Bagger? Motion fails.
Motion fails. And that was our last case? No.
Preserve it could be.
No, sir.
Preserve it could be Lakes.
Oh, one more, sorry. 2018-1053 PP, the Preserve at Goodby Lakes. Developer owner, DR Horton Inc., Gulf Coast. Engineer is Quality Engineering and Surveying LLC. The Parish Council District Representative is Honorable James Thompson. This was postponed indefinitely at the November meeting of 2018, and its request be placed on the March 12th agenda. Staff?
I don't have anything else to say. You just, you just said it.
Shane?
Jeff Shane, Jones Fussell, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. When we made the indefinite postponement of preliminary, you suggested and requested that we appear before you the month before, that we wish to bring the matter back to the agenda so that the public would have notification. I'd also like you to know that I emailed Dr. John Martin, who you may remember was the designated representative that we agreed to communicate with yesterday. He knew that I would be appearing this evening, that the matter comes before you in March, and it's our hope to present a preliminary subdivision package to you that staff will be comfortable with and can recommend approval. Obviously, we've been working on the project for a few months. We'll see you in March.
Thank you. Thank you for coming back on that, too. Commissioner Willie?
Let's move to postpone to March 12th.
No, no.
Put it on the agenda, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
have a motion to move on the agenda for next month's meeting by Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Doherty? I have a second by Commissioner Doherty with question.
So we've been working, you've been working with staff to get this fill ordinance in place. Is this one of the subdivisions that y'all have been working, I'm gonna say night and day on, to try and come up with a fill?
Yes, sir. This project presented a field plan that staff did not feel met the spirit and tenor of its ordinance. We respectfully disagreed. We have revised our project in a manner and believe that it will hopefully meet not just the spirit, but the letter of the ordinance as staff currently interprets it. So that is our hope as to the product we bring to you next month.
Okay, thank you. And I have a question for staff, because I've asked the question several times to various people. When it comes to defining no-net fill, what does no-net fill mean?
The amount of fill that they're going to utilize on their lots will be mitigated by the fill for the detention pond, separately from the 25% reduction for stormwater requirements.
So if somebody's building a house and they're bringing truckloads of fill in an area that's designated no-net fill,
Then they should also be removing truckloads of fill in order to satisfy no net increase in fill.
and if they haven't, and the parish approved it,
Well, if they have an approved fill plan, then they should be regulated by their approved fill plan. But no, they shouldn't be trucking in truckloads of fill where there's no net fill.
so anytime I see a house being constructed,
A lot of times in a developed subdivision, there's a fill plan for the subdivision in its entirety, and they're gonna dig the detention pond prior to you
but this
granting
subdivision
final.
goes back.
I don't know specifically
15,
what you're
20
talking
years.
about, but,
Pardon? Hidden Oaks.
I mean, I don't have
I'll
any
get with you,
information
but
to, okay.
I'm just trying to get a good, solid definition of no-net fill in my mind. And there's two other lots that they're starting to build houses on, but I see where, and it's along Pearl Street, but there was 60-inch culverts put along Pearl Street, and the dirt that was dug out for the culverts was used to put the pads in. So I guess that would constitute.
I'm just not aware of that.
Okay,
I mean, I
I'll
can
get
talk to you
with
about
you
it and we can get together.
Let's
and-
not hold the meeting
Okay.
up.
Mr. Daugherty, I tell people every week, many times a week, every bucket of dirt you bring in, you gotta take a bucket of dirt out.
That's correct. That was my understanding
That's
too,
what it
Darrell,
means.
and.
But that's what it means, yeah.
And that's not what I'm seeing. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Chairman, back.
Okay, you're welcome. Commissioner Lauren?
Well, I had a question for Jeff, but he's left. But let me ask the staff, I want to make sure I understand what he said. In my mind, that the plan that he's proposing is to leave the ordinance as it is?
Correct. The ordinance has not been changed. And so they've gone back and revised their plans to be in compliance with the ordinance as it's written right now.
That's what I needed.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Willie and a second by Commissioner Doherty for the preserves at Goodby Lakes to place it on the agenda for next month. Please vote.
Motion carries.
Is there any new business?
I have a question.
Yes.
On the fire hydrant, what options does the guy have?
Can't put a fire hydrant there, that's what I don't understand. Can he? What options do they have?
I got it to secure servitudes on private property in favor of the fire hydrant so that Tammany Utilities can operate the
Pay
fire
the guy to
hydrant.
put a fire hydrant on it.
The landowner would have to give, yes,
Yeah.
the landowner would probably have to be,
So-
agreed upon, and
And I don't know how many, it's just,
if I was a landowner, I'd like to have a fire hydrant
Well, I
on my
can tell you what-
property, especially if I never had
but the
water
guy
out there
don't
and my
want it.
house burns.
It's not, so I can tell you what happens. We ran a water line from right up here Timberlane.
1088.
Yeah, Timberlane, to my subdivision in Wadsworth. And we had to come down 1088 underneath I-12 and across. We had to go buy the right-of-ways from the landowners. And so putting a fire hydrant in at $1,200 is one thing. When you have to go buy $180,000 worth of, or whatever the number's gonna be, they're not gonna give it to you. But they're gonna get, like you said, you want the benefit of fire hydrant. They want the benefit of the fire hydrant and the cash in the bank. So it's a huge burden on a developer to go, I mean, it could literally sink the subdivision.
Yeah,
Spend $500,000 in right-of-ways to do
that's
that.
soon, they'll give him a fire hydrant.
Right. It's a problem, but it's his problem.
Right.
Well, Mr. Barrett asked, I think Barry asked the question, what about going to the other side?
There's no right of way on the other side either.
That'd be more expensive. Then you'd have to buy the right-of-way and tunnel under the road.
The
Well, I
street,
understand they got a tunnel under.
but the
There's
street,
just no right-of-way there.
street
There's
has no
parish
right of way on.
There's
they
not
got
a lot
other
of
than
right of way
road,
on
there's
the
no
north or
right-of-way.
south
It's
side.
not a
There's
minimum
conflicts on the
width.
north side
We,
with
we
already
can, we can,
installed
we can
utilities.
discuss this after the case.
Okay.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
All right,
Sir.
you didn't want anybody to see it